Today we're going to read Something Queer in the Cafeteria by Elizabeth Levy, illustrated by Mordicai Gerstein.
I want to sit on your lap.
All right, here we go. Something queer in the cafeteria.
I can't really see. Can't really see.
Gwen looked down at the soggy pizza on her tray. The new cafeteria at the Evergreen Avenue School was supposed to have opened in the fall. It had finally opened today. It was the first day of March. The pizza looked like it had been cooked in September. "May I have a crisp piece?" asked Gwen. She doesn't look very happy. That's Gwen. That's Jill. Look at their faces. Does that pizza look good? It says pepperoni is shriveled, the cheese is rubbery, the sauce is watery, and the crust is soggy. Ugh. That's a close-up of the pizza. They don't look very happy about it. Let's see what happens. "No," snapped Miss Claudia Lenski, the woman in charge of the cafeteria. "Good old MCL," muttered Jill. Miss Lenski hadn't changed during the renovation. She wore the same clunky black shoes with square heels. Her uniform looked as scratchy and as uncomfortable as ever. Little tufts of hair still tucked out all around her white cap, and she was definitely as mean as ever. Gwen and Jill called her MCL, a.k.a. Mean Cafeteria Lady. Note, a.k.a. means also known as. A close-up of MCL's clunky black shoes. And look at that face. Does she look friendly? Not friendly. Oh, no. Here's a close-up of Fletcher's big stomach. We must read about Fletcher. "Gwen, here's a mystery for you," said Jill as they sat down at their table. "How come the food in the new cafeteria is worse than the old one?" Everybody knew that Gwen loved mysteries. She always tapped her braces whenever something queer was going on. Jill held up her pizza. It drooped as badly as her dog Fletcher's big stomach. Look at that. Ooh, droopy, gooey, icky, yucky pizza. And she's saying, "Ugh, do I have to eat this?" And all the other kids, look at them back there. They don't look happy either. Nope. And there's Fletcher's tummy. She said it droops as much as his tummy. Silly. All right, let's see what's gonna happen.
I can't.
Uh-oh, the cafeteria lady. Miss Lenski walked by as Jill's tomato sauce dripped on the table. "Jill, you're making a mess," snapped Miss Lenski. She reached over to wipe off the table and knocked over Risa's milk with her elbow. Oh, man. Now there's a big mess and a grumpy cafeteria lady. Mrs. Lenski put her hands on her hips. "Risa, you spilled milk all over our brand new cafeteria." Risa bit her lower lip. "Hey," said Gwen, "Risa didn't spill her milk. You did." There she is saying, "You did." She's yelling at Risa, and look at Risa. She looks a little scared. Would you be scared of that mean old cafeteria lady?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think so. Uh-oh. Miss Lin. A blob of tomato sauce on Mrs. Lenski's towel splattered on Natan. He dropped his spoon on his plate, and a glob of mashed potatoes flew onto Emma. Oh no! She aimed a pea in Clifton's direction that missed him and hit Chantrice. "Food fight!" yelled Chantrice. Mashed potatoes and soggy pizza flew in all directions. Uh-oh. That's Chantrice. She looks happy. Clifton's right there. Emma has mashed potatoes in her nose. And Natan is right there. He threw the mashed potatoes. And the pizza, blah, went on him. And then look, there's pizza everywhere. On the walls, peas, mashed potatoes. Oh no. Do you think the cafeteria lady's going to be happy about that?
No.
Uh-oh. Let's see what happens. Miss Grayton, the principal blew her whistle. Who started this? This is Miss Grayton. Miss Linsky pointed her finger at Gwen and Jill. Don't. Gwen blinked. Not us, she said. We have no food fights here, especially not in our new cafeteria, said Miss Grayton. I want both of you to stay after school and help clean up this mess. Yes, ma'am, muttered Jill, who had never had to stay after school before. Jill hated being in trouble. Uh-oh, they look very unhappy. Mr. Liu, Gwen and Jill's homeroom teacher, was very upset when he found out the two of his students had started a food fight. Mr. Liu, I think that's how you say his name. It's not like you, he said. I was counting on your good help decorating the cake for the cafeteria's official grand opening party. It's for the mayor and the school board. All your families will be invited. They look unhappy still, and he looks a little upset. What do you think? What about Fletcher? Asked Risa. He's part of Jill's family. He's almost part of our class. Fletcher waited for Gwen and Jill outside of school every day. He was practically the class mascot. Mr. Liu smiled. He knew how much the class loved Fletcher. Perhaps if Gwen and Jill stay out of trouble, said Mr. Liu. We will, promised Gwen and Jill. We want to help decorate the cake, said Gwen. So they want their dog to be part of the class. Look, they even have a picture of him on the wall. Fletcher, made by Jill. Tinkle by Risa, and Fred by Natan. Heh. After school, Gwen and Jill went to the cafeteria to clean up. Miss Linsky was talking to a man wearing jeans and cowboy boots. He smiled at Gwen and Jill. Miss Linsky frowned at them. These girls are nothing but trouble, Miss Linsky said to the man. Gwen and Jill, you can start by filling a bucket and washing the floor. I think she's got us confused with Cinderella, Gwen muttered. Look, that's a mop wringer. You put the mop in there and then pull the lever and it takes all the liquid out. Whoa. There's the mop, and they have a big floor to mop up and a mess. Cafeteria lady still looks grumpy. Does that man look grumpy, or does he seem nice? He seems a little nice. And the girls are a little unhappy to be there. Sad. All right, let's see what happens next.
I want to sit on your lap and not even lie on me. I want to sit on your lap.
You are sitting on my lap, silly.
But you have to hold.
Gwen tried to turn on the water, and the knob wouldn't budge. She used her muscles. The knob came off. Water squirted all over her face. Yikes, shouted Gwen. Miss Linsky whirled around. Look what you did now. The man grabbed the knob and stuck it back on. No harm done, he said. It just came off, said Gwen. Jill handed her a towel by itself. By itself? Asked Miss Linsky sarcastically. Uh-oh. Grumpy, grumpy. Unhappy girls. Now she's all wet. And he seems nice. He helped put it back together, didn't he? When Gwen and Jill finished cleaning, they went outside. Fletcher was waiting with a red bandana around his collar. His nose barely showed through the snowdrifts. Everyone was sick of the snow, but Fletcher, it reminded him of whipped cream. There's Fletcher. He looks like a happy dog. They look happy too. Jill hugged him. We've had the worst day, she said. Fletcher licked her face. At least you got an invitation to our party next week, Gwen told Fletcher. Our class is decorating the cake. Don't eat anything else. The cafeteria food stinks. Fletcher licked Gwen's face too.
Where's the...
See the dog licking their face? They haven't made it yet. They're going to make it for their class party. All right. Look at all that snow. Do you want snow? I like snow. The next morning, after math class, Mr. Liu showed them the design for a cake in the shape of the cafeteria. Excuse me. All right, so there's licorice strings going across, pink, white icing for the floor, marzipan fruit and food, marshmallow counter, marshmallow tables, and wafer cookie benches. That's the cafeteria design for the cake. Does that look like the cafeteria? Yeah? We'll go down to the cafeteria to practice decorating the cake, said Mr. Liu. We want it to be perfect for next week. As they walked down the hall, terrible, stinking smells wafted out of the cafeteria. P.U., said Louis, holding his nose. Even Mr. Liu wrinkled his nose. Let's see how they look. Ew, stink. Stinky, stinky, plug your nose. Bleh. Smells like your toes. That's what they're saying. And he's saying, ugh, it's not a very good smell. Excuse me. Tofu is a custardy, high-protein food made from soybeans. It can be used as a meat or a cheese substitute and is even eaten sweetened as a dessert. It is especially popular in Asia, where it originated. So these are cakes of tofu, and they're made out of soybeans, which are the beans right next to it. Does that sound good or not good? Not good. It doesn't. Look at those sausages. Do they look good? How come? It looks like they're burning and stinky. All right, let's see what happened. As they walked into the kitchen, Miss Lenski pulled something black and crispy from under the broiler. They're shriveling up, she yelled to the same man who had been there the day before. You must have overcooked the tofu, said the man. Oh, yuck, said Gwen. Tofu dogs. You see, the children don't even like tofu dogs, he said. See, look, he thinks it's gross and stinky and they're overcooked. And she is saying, what? They're fine. The kids will eat them, right? Would you eat that for lunch? No? No way. All right, let's see what happens. I've brought my class to practice decorating the cake for the official grand opening party, said Mr. Liu. The man in the cowboy boots extended his hand, and Mr. Liu, I'm Charlie Peacock, he said. My company is in charge of the cafeteria construction. I'm here to make sure the equipment is being used properly. The class took turns mixing the sugar and the butter for the frosting. When it was Gwen's turn, she rolled up her sleeves. Here she goes. There's the bowl. Mix, 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 mix. Uh-oh. Suddenly, the counter creaked. The bowl started slipping and sliding. The counter collapsed with a great crash. Gwen ended up with frosting all over. Mr. Liu reached Gwen first. What happened? Gwen's eyes were wide. The counter, she said, it just fell. Look at her. She's got it everywhere. It's on her head. How would you feel about that? Just fell, squawked Mrs. Lenski. I bet you kids were sitting on it, as if I don't have enough problems. The tofu dogs crumble, the pizza droops, now my counters are falling down. Wait a pokey minute, drawled Mr. Peacock. You know how kids can be. It's not this little girl's fault. It was just an accident. An accident or sabotage, growled Miss Lenski. Out! Out! Even Mr. Liu was no match for Miss Lenski on the warpath. Gwen, why don't you go wash up, he suggested. There's Mr. Peacock. There's grouchy Miss Lenski. And she has to go wash up. She's so dirty. At least he's being nice, huh? Jill went into the bathroom with Gwen. Gwen started to tap her braces. Instead of tap, 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 it came out squish, squish, squish. Her braces were full of frosting. There's definitely something queer going on, she said. We get in trouble every time we walk into the cafeteria. Maybe it's jinxed, said Jill. Yeah, or haunted by MCL, said Gwen. It can't get worse, said Jill. Wanna bet, said Gwen. Look, she hasn't even washed up yet, and she's already thinking. Tap, tap, tap. That day at lunch, there was nothing but peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwiches. Ew, yuck. It has gotten worse, admitted Jill. Peanut butter and mayonnaise should be against the law. I like peanut butter and mayonnaise, said George. After Gwen's accident in the kitchen, everything I cooked was ruined, and the tofu dogs have disappeared, snapped Miss Lenski. Peanut butter and mayonnaise is all I have left. There's Jell-O for dessert. The Jell-O is runny, said Risa, staring down at her tray. Where is it running? Asked Clifton. Ha ha ha! Anywhere but in my stomach, said Gwen. You look at that. Mayonnaise and peanut butter. Blech. Gross. This is a close-up of the peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich. Yuck. Would you get a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich?
Yeah, that would be good.
Ew! You're gross. Gwen's Jell-O wobbled right off her tray. Don't even think about starting another food fight, yelled Miss Linsky. It fell off my plate, protested Gwen. Just wobbled by itself, said Miss Linsky, and the knob just came off that counter, just collapsed. I know you're the troublemaker here. You're probably the one who took the tofu dogs. Gwen glared at her. I wouldn't touch a tofu dog, said Gwen, even if it was the last food on earth. Ugh. Uh-oh, here's a close-up on Gwen's sneaker. The Jell-O landed on it. Yuck. What's going on, Miss Linsky? Asked Mrs. Greeton. These two pranksters tried to start another food fight, and I think they stole the tofu dogs I had. I heard Gwen say tofu dogs were yucky, said Miss Linsky. Wait 1 minute, argued Jill. Gwen is not a thief. Gwen and Jill, I warned you, said Mrs. Greeton. I'll look into these pranks, but I still don't like the rude remarks about the food. I want you to stay after school and write a letter of apology to Miss Linsky. Oh, no. You have to stay after school again. Oh, my goodness. Gwen and Jill went to detention hall after school. Gwen scribbled, Dear Cafeteria Lady, from the Black Lagoon on a piece of paper. She showed it to Jill, who giggled. No laughing in detention, said Mrs. Greeton. Gwen sighed. She crumpled up her paper. Gwen and Jill both wrote letters saying they were very sorry to Miss Linsky, but they didn't really mean it.
Look at their breath.
Where's Fletcher? Asked Jill when they finally got out. Do you think he got tired of waiting and went home? Oh, don't, please. There he is, said Gwen. A tiny flap of a red bandana was sticking out of a snowdrift. Snow was flying all directions. What's Fletcher doing? Asked Jill. He never digs so fast. Unless there's food, said Gwen. Where is he? Do you see him? Oh, look at that small little bandana piece way over yonder. There it is. See, there's a big piece of it up there. He's over there digging. See the snow flying? Yep. All right. What's happening? Do you think the food is over there that's missing from the cafeteria? Uh-oh. Fletcher lifted his head. He had something in his mouth. He made a face and spit it out. A tofu dog, said Gwen. Fletcher washed his mouth out with snow. The very thought of a tofu dog was just too much. Jill stared at the snowdrift. There are hundreds of tofu dogs buried out here. Gwen tapped on her braces. Look, she said, excitedly, pointing to a square heel print in the snow. Oh, look. He didn't even like it. He said, bleh. That's gross. Bleh, bleh, bleh. That heel is from the ugliest shoes in the world, Miss Linsky's shoes. We can prove we didn't do it. She dumped the tofu dogs out here herself and wanted to blame us. She's the meanest cafeteria lady on the planet Earth. In the solar system, said Jill. In the galaxy, said Gwen. In the universe, said... And now she's in trouble, said Gwen, rubbing her hands together. That's the solar system with the planet MCL. See her? There it is. There's the planet MCL. Right there. Ha ha. Grouchy cafeteria lady. All right. What's going to happen now?
Babies do this. They put stuff all over their fingers.
Fletcher was so happy that he rolled all over in the snow, right on top of the footprints. Fletcher's destroying our evidence, cried Jill. How will we prove we didn't do it now? The footprints are all smushed up. Gwen stared down at the smoothed out snow. She raised her eyes up to the sky. I don't know how we'll prove Miss Linsky did it, she said quietly, but as Fletcher is my witness, we'll never eat tofu dogs again. Gwen stared down at the smoothed out snow. She raised her eyes up to the sky.
Oh, the little paws are so soft. So soft.
So they're going to prove that she did it, right? What do you think? On the day of the official party, Gwen and Jill put on their best party dresses. Jill wore a red dress. Stop. Jill wore a red dress that matched her hair. She even got Fletcher a brand new bandana and wrote his name on it with fabric paint. Gwen wore purple, her favorite color. The orthodontist even had changed her braces to purple. Look at that. They match her beautiful dress. So fancy. Mr. Lou was pleased that they had gotten dressed up. I've got aprons for everybody, he said as he took the class to the kitchen to put the final touches on the cake. Look, there's his bandana with his name on it. Fletcher. Does Fletcher look handsome for the party? No? Miss Linsky's hair was sticking out of her cap. I just know something will go wrong today with these two in the kitchen, she said, looking at Gwen and Jill, and I'll be blamed. We won't let her blame us again, Gwen whispered to Jill. Let's get to work, girls and boys, said Mr. Lou. He showed them the huge sheet cake he had baked in the back of the cafeteria. He handed hairnets to all the kids with long hair, even Clifton. We don't want any stray hairs in our frosting, said Mr. Lou. She's pointing at them. And they're saying, we're not going to get in trouble today. There's the big cake, ready to be all decorated. Gwen and Jill went to work untangling the shoestrings. Yep, that's what they're saying. This is going to be the most excellent cake in the whole world, said Risa. Wait until we get the marshmallows on, said Clifton. It will look perfect. When the frosting was all spread out and the marshmallows placed just so, Mr. Lou put the cake in the oven to brown the top of the marshmallows. Wow, it looks amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It looks really good. They did a very good job decorating that cake.
Yep, and there's even all of those
hairs. There's Mr. Peacock, said Jill. He's talking to my mom and Fletcher. Mr. Peacock was wearing a big cowboy hat and a bandana. Oh, there he is. They look like they're happy, don't they? Look, what's Mom holding? Fletcher, the silly dog. He's nice, said Gwen. He defended us against MCL. There's the mayor, said Louis. She's about to make her speech, said Mr. Lou. We should all be in there.
That was
in the middle of the mayor's speech, Gwen sniffed. I smell something burning, she said. With Fletcher in the lead, the whole class rushed back to the kitchen. Black smoke poured out of the oven. Mr. Peacock was spraying the fire extinguisher on it. The flames sputtered and died. Mr. Peacock pulled the cake out and dropped it on the floor. This cake is too hot to handle, he said. It was covered with foam. The marshmallow tables were as black as Fletcher's nose. Gross, said George. Oh, man, look, all of their work is all melted and burnt and gross. Would you eat it?
No.
No, gross. Blech. The marshmallow tables. Fletcher's nose is sniffing. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like that smell either. Oh, darn it. The cake is ruined. Mr. Lou stared at the mess. The marshmallows shouldn't have burned. I put the cake in the middle rack, and the oven was only at 250. Mr. Peacock turned towards Gwen and Jill with a disappointed look. Ms. Linsky has been complaining about sabotage, but I didn't believe her. Somebody deliberately ruined that cake. What's that in the oven? He pulled out a foamy burned bandana. I think this is a clue. Gwen stared at him. She was the one who usually found clues. Ms. Linsky looked at Fletcher. Jill's dog was wearing a bandana the last time I saw him. Gwen and Jill did it again. Everybody stared at Gwen and Jill. Gwen and Jill looked at Fletcher. His bandana was missing. Oh, no.
He said I wanted it.
Oh, no. Do you think it was Fletcher? I think I'd better talk to the principal, said Mr. Peacock as he walked out. He slipped the gooey cake frosting. He almost fell down, but he held on to the red bandana and left a sticky trail behind him. Do something, Gwen, urged Jill. That was Fletcher's bandana. We're getting blamed again. This time we could get kicked out of school. Gwen tapped her braces. She was stumped. Somehow Miss Lenski burned the cake and planted Fletcher's bandana, so we'd be blamed, said Gwen. I just don't know how to prove it. Think, demanded Jill. There's cowboy boots. Look, he's all stuck in that goo. Ew. Miss Lenski sat down and wept. The party's ruined. Gwen and Jill, how could you do this? We'll never get another cake sent to fix all the things that are wrong in the new cafeteria. Mr. Peacock went over $100,000 to build it. Nothing works right. Why should things be wrong if they're brand new? Gwen asked. Stop worrying about that and figure out how to prove. Miss Lenski did it, whispered Jill. I am, said Gwen, still tapping. Oh, Miss Lenski is sad. Do you think she really did it? What do you think? I don't know. Let's see. Why does she keep doing that? Miss Lenski asked Jill. It's very annoying. Gwen always taps her braces when she's detecting. She's a very good detective. Gwen stared down at the cake on the floor. I might have made a mistake, she said. What kind of mistake? Said Jill through gritted teeth. We're about to be expelled. Miss Lenski, said Gwen, there's something queer in the cafeteria and I need your help. Me? Asked Miss Lenski. Why should I help you? Because I am going to prove Jill and I haven't been messing with your cafeteria. But you have to do me a favor. Step in the cake. What do you think they want her to step in the cake for? Miss Lenski glared at her. Please, pleaded Gwen, I need your help to solve the mystery. The mystery of why everything's gone wrong in the new cafeteria. Jill and I haven't done the things that we've gotten in trouble for, but somebody has. Please help us. Miss Lenski stood up and put her foot firmly in the ruined cake. Then she lifted it. Miss Lenski, I owe you an apology, said Gwen. You already wrote me one, said Miss Lenski. This time I mean it, said Gwen. Your heel print doesn't match the footprints we found outside in the snow with the tofu dogs. Gwen pointed to the heel print on the floor. But Mr. Peacock's boot print does. It was Mr. Peacock in the kitchen. Oh, no. It's Mr. Peacock? Has he been making a mess in the kitchen? Mr. Peacock! Exclaimed Mr. Lou. Gwen looked out at the lunchroom. Mr. Peacock was whispering in the principal's ear. Gwen narrowed her eyes. Let's wheel out the cake, said Gwen. It's time for the real culprit to be exposed. What is she talking about? Said Mrs. Lenski. I think she's about to cook Mr. Peacock's goose, said Jill. Gross, Abby. Is this a joke? Asked the mayor. No, said Gwen. There was a fire in the oven because it doesn't work right. Nothing works right in this cafeteria. Excuse me, said Mr. Peacock. This girl is troublemaker. I have proof these two deliberately burned down this cake as a prank. Gwen and Jill were never in trouble before the new cafeteria opened, said Mrs. Greeton. Here they come. All the people that think he did it with all the proof on the tray. And Fletcher's on the bottom. Taking a ride. And there's Mr. Peacock pointing the finger at them, saying it was them. What in the world is going on?
No. Like he's serious.
Gwen stepped forward. Mr. Peacock knows that this counter falls down. His faucet knobs fall off, and the refrigerators can't even keep Jell-O cold. The oven burns everything, even tofu. That's why he hid the tofu dogs. They were proof that the oven doesn't work right. He didn't spend the money he was given on the cafeteria. This troublemaker will do anything to talk her way out of this, said Mr. Peacock. But I can prove those two deliberately ruined the cake. We found their dog's bandana in the oven. They used it as a potholder to remove the rack and burn the marshmallows. You found out Fletcher was Jill's dog from Jill's mom, said Gwen. Jill's mom nodded. He wanted to blame us, Gwen continued, so he could keep the money he should have spent on the cafeteria. He was quick. I noticed he didn't have his bandana on after the cake burned. He planted it in the oven and took Fletcher's bandana when we were all looking at the ruined cake. Here it is. Gwen pulled a red bandana from Mr. Peacock's pocket. It had Fletcher's name on it. There's the one that has Fletcher's name on it. That naughty Mr. Peacock. See, there he is stealing it. What are you guys doing? Mr. Peacock flipped a carrot stick at Gwen's face and started to run. Fletcher leaped and caught the carrot. He spit it out. Cottontail's chewy, crunching carrots, not Fletcher's. Instead of Fletcher grabbed Mr. Peacock's pant leg and held on. Oh, geez. The mayor stood up to her full height. Mr. Peacock, I'll see you, but you pay back every penny you pocketed instead of buying first-class equipment. He's out of there.
I'm going to go get Tears.
Nope.
She's done having mine.
She'll come in if she wants to. Thank you, Gwen, said Miss Linsky. You really saved the day. How can I repay you? No more tofu dogs, said Gwen and Jill in unison. To tell you the truth, I never liked them much myself, said Miss Linsky. The whole class cheered, and Fletcher's tail wagged faster than ever. Yay, they're friends now. That's great. The end.